Everyone in the capital knows that I, Su Yunxian, protect my own to an unreasonable fault. Whoever dares to bully my son, I will make them regret being born that very day. At the spring banquet, that little concubine-born boy had just cornered my son in a wall nook.
You're just a useless loser who can only rely on his mother.
Yet, turning around with red eyes, he asked me,
Could you be my mother too?
Everyone said he was a cursed star of misfortune who brought death to his father and mother, dooming anyone who got close to him. Just as I was about to refuse, a line of words suddenly floated across the air. Don't drive him away. Right now, he is a cursed star despised by his own parents. But in the future, he will be a treacherous minister of immense power. My heart skipped a beat. How is this a star of misfortune? This is my son's greatest future backer. The next moment, new bullet comments exploded across the air. Tonight, he is going to be thrown out of the minister's estate. I am known far and wide in the capital as a protective madwoman. If anyone dares to bully my son in the morning, I will make them understand what regret means by evening. At the spring banquet, a young boy cornered my son in a wall nook. His round eyes were filled with envy. You can only rely on your mother.
A useless loser for life.
I rushed forward, pulled him away with a yank, and scolded him sternly. How dare you bully your younger brother like this? Frightened by me, he took step after step backward, hanging his head, not daring to make a sound. My child asked me, trembling with fear,
Is it only when I don't rely on mother that I am considered grown up?
I smiled slightly. Blame it on mother's incompetence. When night fell, that young boy stopped me at the back gate and said hesitantly,
Could you be my mother too?
Just as I was preparing to refuse, bullet comments floated across the air one after another. In midair, the villain bullies others on the surface, but deep down he is extremely envious. He quietly ran over to claim her as his mother. Who could have expected that those who will become monstrous, treasonous ministers in the future also desperately craved maternal love when they were young? I swallowed my words of refusal back down. Monstrously powerful. My son, your future backer has arrived. I carefully scrutinized the boy in front of me. If I remember correctly, he is Qin Shao, the concubine-born son of the Minister of Justice. Yet, he lives a miserable life. Ordinary concubine-born children at least have a mother who is a concubine. But him? He seems to be the offspring left behind by the minister from his visits to the brothels. When I saw the comments, I already had a plan in mind, but I was in no hurry to agree and asked him back, I have Yunar? Why should I accept you?
You see, Yoon is protected by you like a use.
I immediately swept a cold glare over him. He swallowed the words that had just slipped out and said, after some deliberation,
Like a soft, glutinous rice ball.
Ha 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 ha. The villain's desire to survive is incredibly strong. Don't you also hope he will protect you? The pot shouldn't call the kettle black. Without showing any sign, I glanced at the air and remained silent, waiting for him to continue.
If you become my mother, in the future, when you are not around, I will take care of him.
My goodness, he truly deserves to be the great treacherous minister of the future, to be able to analyze the pros and cons so clearly at such a young age. Fine, I will place this bet. Without saying a word, I turned and walked toward the courtyard. The little fellow behind me did not move for a long time. What are you standing there dazed for? Hurry up and follow me. Qin Shao was stunned for a moment, seemingly unable to believe it. Once it registered, he nodded vigorously and walked briskly, taking large strides, for fear that I would go back on my word. Yunair was currently flying a kite in the courtyard. The nanny was watching from the side, yawning out of boredom. Hearing my return, he held up the half-person tall kite, reluctant to let it go, and came stumbling toward me.
Mother!
Before he could even reach me, thud, he fell flat on his face. Qin Shao's muffled laughter came from behind me. I cleared my throat loudly, and he instantly straightened up, wearing a serious expression. Yunair scrambled up from the ground, looking very dejected.
Am I too clumsy?
Of course not. I squatted down to pat the mud off his hem. Yunar is a good boy. It is the kite's fault. It is all because this broken kite tripped you. Qin Shao's eyes instantly widened behind me, hardly able to believe that someone could make such a far-fetched argument. The kite. I didn't provoke anyone. The villain is dumbfounded. How can someone shift the blame like this? What should we do? Suddenly, I feel a bit of sympathy for the big villain, the doting love he has pursued his entire life. Siyun obtained it so effortlessly. Yunar also noticed him and shrank behind my back in fear.
Mother, why is brother Qin Shao here?
Seeing his sweet and sensible manner, my heart melted completely. Look how good our Yunar is. He was just bullied by this fellow Qin Shao this afternoon, yet he still calls him brother. I pondered for a moment, not acknowledging Qin Shao right away, but instead saying with a bright smile, Brother Qin Shao wants to be friends with you. So mother, invited him over to our house to play. Yunar nodded happily and stuffed the kite into his hands.
Brother, let's play together then.
At this instant, the expression on Qin Shao's face shifted rapidly, making for quite a spectacle. There was loneliness, and there was hesitation. We won't play just yet. I gently held down Yunar's hand. I still have things to discuss with brother Qin Shao. With that, I glanced at him. Let's go to the study. Once the door was closed, I pulled out a wooden chair and offered Qin Shao a seat. If you want to follow me, I don't really mind, but with the minister's estate suddenly missing a son, won't the minister have an issue with that? Qin Shao lowered his head, seemingly having not thought through this question either. The atmosphere in the study grew cold enough to freeze. I let out an imperceptible sigh. Since that is the case, you should go home first. He suddenly snapped his head up.
You lied to me.
Faced with his aggrieved accusation, I remained completely unhurried. I am the Marquise's wife, not a human trafficker. What I promised you, I will naturally fulfill, but you must give me some time. I looked straight into Qin Shao's slightly upturned, narrow eyes.
Fine, I will wait for you.
A few moments later, he turned around and left, without the slightest hesitation, though he was only 2 years older than Yunair. His mind was as mature as an adult's. I stared at the empty gap of the doorway and fell into deep thought. The ancestors of the Yi family fought alongside the emperor to conquer the land, and were bestowed the title of Marquis. Unfortunately, their descendants were unworthy, each generation worse than the last. Currently, aside from entering the palace to pay respects during festivals, they couldn't even get a word in at court. With the future powerful prime minister delivering himself to my doorstep, I was naturally delighted, but my concern was not to busy myself in vain only to benefit someone else. Oh my, the villain has been sent home again. The minister's wife has come up with a new dirty trick to harm him, and she is waiting right there, in the manor. Last time, she framed him for stealing jewelry, getting him whipped 20 times. He had a fever for 3 days and 3 nights, but he survived. This time she seems to have bribed a Taoist priest to claim he is a cursed star who will bring death to his father. I had originally been planning how to pay a visit and speak with the minister. To my surprise, it was like being handed a pillow just as I was getting sleepy. Since you don't want him yourselves, don't blame me for taking him in. I made my calculations in my heart, waiting for Qin Shao to be kicked out of the house so I could naturally go and pick him up. Who knew another bullet comment would float by? The villain is too clever. He exposed the old Taoist on the spot, nearly dragging the minister's wife into it too. I immediately grew restless. After all, he was still too young and didn't know how to hide his sharpness. After careful consideration, I summoned the maids and older servants. Prepare my sedan chair. We are going to the minister's manor. I was welcomed into the front hall to wait, but the minister's wife delayed her appearance. I knew in my heart that things were going wrong. A servant came to apologize with a face full of smiles.
Madam, there is an urgent matter in the manor today. How about you?
My business is also urgent. With that, I stood up and charged straight inside. Anyway, I'm already used to acting domineering in the capital, so one more time won't hurt. I walked quickly toward the inner courtyard. From far away, I could hear Qin Shao's voice. It was as cold as ice, as he questioned the minister in despair.
Father, please think back carefully. Since I arrived, the household has been perfectly peaceful. Just last month, because you handled your duties well, you received praise from His Majesty. Now a wandering Taoist priest makes wild claims that I bring you bad luck, without any proof, and you actually believe him and want to drive me away. Isn't that far too absurd?
The minister's face was dark, showing no emotion. Qin Shao knelt in the hall, his forehead already bruised from kowtowing. The minister didn't feel the slightest bit of pity, only weighing the pros and cons. I could tell that Minister Qin actually wanted to kick Qin Shao out anyway, and was just using the priest's words as an excuse to go along with it. Oh. It seems I've arrived at a bad time. I covered my face with my fan, my eyes wide with feigned shock. Minister Qin and his wife immediately put on smiles.
We didn't know you were coming. Forgive us for the lack of hospitality. Someone, come quickly. Bring a seat.
Although the Marquise's estate had no real power, the noble title was still there, so outsiders had to show some respect. I didn't stand on ceremony and sat down gracefully, discreetly, glancing at Qin Shao, who was kneeling straight as a board. What great mistake did the child make to cause such a scene? The minister's wife let out a long sigh.
A Taoist priest was passing by and was just performing a ritual along the way to pray for my husband's blessings. Who knew that as soon as he saw Shaoer's face, his brow furrowed deeply slowly, and when he asked for his birth chart, it turned out to be the fate of the Lone Star of Death. If he stays in the manor for long, he might bring ruin to his parents, and my family's fortune had declined.
I blinked in curiosity. What kind of fate is that? My father is the director of the Imperial Observatory. Although he focuses on astrology, he also knows a thing or two about reading birth charts. Having learned from him, I also know a little bit. Why don't you tell me about it? Hearing this, the minister's wife froze. I clearly saw her exchange a brief secret glance with the old Taoist priest, showing a moment of panic.
It is just a family matter.
She laughed it off, trying to change the subject.
May I ask what brings you to our manor, Lady Marquis?
Oh, this afternoon, Qin Shao and my son Yunar had a little scuffle while playing. In a moment of urgency, I whipped Qin Shao a few times, so I came here specifically to apologize. The minister and his wife looked at each other. After all, my overprotectiveness was famous throughout the capital. For the sake of my son, Ye Siyun, I had argued with almost every noble matriarch, always demanding my way, even when I was in the wrong. This was the very first time anyone had seen me admit a mistake.
It is no matter. Lady Marquis loves her son dearly. It is understandable.
How about this? I stared at Qin Shao, and a plan formed in my mind. Since the priest says he brings misfortune to his parents, why don't you give him to me? It just so happens that Yuner is missing an older brother. The minister was instantly stunned. Not wanting him is one thing, but giving him away is quite another. A flicker of suspicion crossed the minister's wife's eyes. She declined, saying,
You must be joking, madam. Qin Shao is, after all, my husband's own flesh and blood.
The hot spring villa in the suburbs. I laid out my bargaining chip directly. I heard the minister is in poor health and needs to soak in hot springs during the winter to recuperate. Over the years, Qin Shao has suffered a lot in your manor. I am willing to give that hot spring villa to the minister's manor as compensation for raising him all these years. From now on, I will raise Qin Shao, and he will have nothing to do with the minister's manor. The hall fell dead, silent instantly. Even Qin Shao's mouth hung slightly open as he stared at me in disbelief. A brief moment later, I signed and sealed the adoption agreement, written by the minister himself. I cupped my hands to him. Then I shall take Qin Shao with me. The deed to the villa will be sent over by someone later. The minister nodded, asking in confusion,
What exactly is so good about this child?
I gave a mysterious smile. It is all for Yuner. He stood there, in a daze. Although the minister's wife deliberately lowered her voice, her words still reached my ears.
The Marquis's manor is indeed wealthy. Buying Qin Shao to be Yi Siyun's study companion kills two birds with one stone. Looking at it this way, Qin Shao actually got the better end of the deal.
I reached out my hands and covered Qin Shao's ears. With a gentle smile, I said, Don't listen. From now on, these things have nothing to do with you anymore. Heaven knows that the moment I gave away the villa, my heart was bleeding. The bullet comments floating above my head were even more painful. Does the Marchioness really know how to read bones? Did she see that Qin Shao has the aura of a dragon and phoenix? That he has the talent to be the top scholar, which is why she went to such great lengths to bring him home. The villain has finally made it through the worst of it. Someone is actually willing to spend money to pamper him. Be careful, Madame Marquis. The villain is no saint. In the original novel, the very first thing he did after rising to power was personally wipe out the entire minister's household. On the surface, I remained completely unbothered, but inside, my mind was in absolute turmoil. I didn't expect Qin Shao to be such a vengeful person. I must treat him better in the future. Qin Shao remained silent the entire way, only speaking up softly when we arrived at the Marquise's manor.
Spending so much money, is it really worth it?
Instead of answering, I tapped him on the forehead. When they wanted to take you away, couldn't you have just come straight to find me? Why bother arguing with them? What is the use of winning an argument? I could have saved myself a villa. Qin Shao sniffled.
What if you didn't want me? I would have ended up on the streets.
My heart shuddered. What on earth had this child been through to not even dare to have this little bit of trust? I couldn't help but tap his forehead again. I, Su Yunxian, always keep my word. In the future, such self-deprecating words, speak of them less. 2 large red marks were left on his forehead, but a bright light sparkled in his eyes. He rubbed the spot where he had been tapped with his small hand and mumbled under his breath.
Understood.
Upon hearing that Qin Shao was going to live with us, Yunar lowered his head and remained silent. I knelt down, adjusted his collar, and asked softly, Yunar, are you unhappy? He glanced at Qin Shao, who was standing not far away, but seeing that I was there, he still summoned his courage and said,
He bullied me last time. I don't like him.
Qin Shao's gaze instantly dimmed, and he even looked a bit anxious. I understood. He was afraid I would abandon him. When he used Yuner as leverage to negotiate with me, he knew all too well that his own fate was already tightly bound to Yuner's. I have already scolded brother Qin Shao, and he has admitted his mistake. Yuner, don't hold a grudge anymore. All right. His eyes blinked and flickered, but he still pouted and nodded. Good boy, go play. Seeing this, Qin Shao took the initiative to step forward and invite Yunar.
Let's go fly a kite together. I can fly it really high.
Yunar loved flying kites the most. Hearing this, his eyes instantly widened in excitement, eager to give it a try. Watching the two children side by side, their figures gradually growing smaller in the distance, my heart felt a bit lighter. Qin Shao was observant and thoughtful, which was reassuring, but just as I caught my breath for a moment, a servant came to report.
Madam, the Marquis requests your presence.
My heart instantly skipped a violent beat. Oh no, I hadn't discussed gifting the estate and adopting the foster son with my husband yet. My husband, Ye Guanfu, was painting in the study. The moment he saw me, he stopped his brush. A half smile played on his lips, looking very much like he was about to demand an explanation. I quickly rushed to defend myself first. Husband, I had my reasons. He raised an eyebrow.
Oh, then I would like to hear my wife explain it in detail.
The tricks Madam used above to play the ghost gave me endless inspiration. I made up a story on the spot. I've always been a good judge of character. Qin Shao has a broad forehead and a well-defined nose. He is bound to achieve great things.
But I heard that child is cursed with a star of misfortune. He was almost kicked out by the minister.
What do they know? They're mistaking a gold ingot for a worn-out straw sandal. Just you wait. When Qin Shao makes it big in the future, their family won't be able to flatter him fast enough. Ye Guanfu could do nothing with me and could only sigh helplessly.
My wife, this move of yours is truly willful. That hot spring manner, I fancied it quite a bit myself.
As he mumbled his complaints, and just as I was about to comfort him, I was so startled by the bullet comments above my head that I jumped up, pushed open the door, and rushed outside.
Where are you going, my beautiful wife?
I had no mind to pay attention to him, my head completely filled with those few lines from the bullet comments. The villain's expression is so strange. He keeps staring intently at Yi Siyun. Could he be planning something bad? It is highly possible. Otherwise, why would he actively suggest flying kites by the lake? Right now, Yi Siyun is standing right by the water. He only needs to push Yi Siyun in and then pull him out, and the Marquis's wife will surely dote on him like her own son. Compared to his methods of tormenting people in court, this trick is just child's play. I jogged all the way to the lakeside, only feeling my hands and feet go weak, my entire body shaking uncontrollably. If that was truly the case, when I ran there, panting heavily, the scene before my eyes was like this. Yunar was standing under a tree, looking up with eager anticipation. Qin Shao was stepping on a tree branch, reaching out to grab the kite caught in the treetop. Standing high up, he had a good view, and having already spotted me, he smiled and waved at me. But from my angle, I happened to see the branch under his feet snap with a loud crack. Watch out! I cried out in panic, but it was already too late. Qin Shao fell hard onto the muddy ground beneath the tree. Yunar was frightened out of his wits and rushed forward to check on his injuries, his eyes a mix of fear and self-reproach.
Brother Qin Shao, are you alright? It is all my fault. I shouldn't have asked you to get the kite for me.
Qin Shao slowly held up the kite and smiled at Yunar.
I am fine. Here, take your kite. What I promised you, I will definitely do.
Hearing these words, I found them strangely familiar. Yunar's eyes grew red, with tiny tears welling up inside.
The kite is just an object, but you are a living person. Brother, your safety is what matters most.
He squatted beside Qin Shao, clumsily patting the dirt off him with his small hands. As tears fell pattering down, Qin Shao grimaced in pain, yet he didn't pull away. Instead, he whispered,
I am truly fine.
I turned my head and glanced at the maid beside me. What are you standing there for? Go fetch a physician for the eldest young master at once. Qin Shao hadn't fallen from a high place, and since the ground was soft dirt, he only sustained some minor scrapes. When I went to see him, he was already sitting up on his bed, reading a book by lamplight. Without drawing attention, I glanced at the cover. It was the Ziji Tongjian. Indeed, those who love reading history books are never simple. He put down the book, opened his mouth, froze for a few moments, and called out,
Madam.
I reached out and gently touched the scratch on his face. Does it still hurt? Qin Shao trembled slightly and instinctively shrank back, as if he was highly unaccustomed to anyone caring about him. I smiled, withdrew my hand, and began to doubt the truth of the bullet comments. Qin Shao's life has been too bitter. I didn't want to think so poorly of him, but in the next instant, Qin Shao's words pulled me back to reality. He said,
Madam, you were running in such a hurry this afternoon. Did you have something urgent to discuss with me?
My eyes sharpened imperceptibly, but I quickly masked it. I heard from the nanny that you went to play by the lake. It was midday, and it had just just rained lightly. The moss was wet and slippery. I was worried you might be in danger. I keenly caught the flash of panic in Qin Xiao's eyes, even if it lasted only for a split second.
Rest assured, mother.
He looked at me solemnly, as if a mature soul were hidden beneath his childish appearance.
I promised you that I would not let Brother Yun get hurt.
On the way back to my room, I kept reflecting on what happened during the day. In fact, I arrived earlier than Qin Xiao had anticipated. At that time, the branch he was stepping on already showed signs of breaking. He had noticed it too, but after he saw me, he did not choose to step onto another branch. Instead, he remained where he was. At the exact moment Qin Xiao fell, he used all his strength to grab the kite stuck between the branches and fell to the ground with it. Perhaps Qin Xiao really did have a split second. He wanted to push Yunair into the water, but in the end, he didn't do it. It was still a self-injury ruse, but this time, he chose to hurt himself. I rubbed my temples in frustration. Qin Xiao is far too calculating. Can I really keep him under control? Ever since the kite incident, Qin Xiao and Yunair started getting along better. Though I pretended not to care on the surface, I often watched them from the shadows, terrified that Qin Xiao would stir up trouble. Today was Guanyin's birthday. I took both of them to Shuiyun Temple to offer incense. As luck would have it, while resting and drinking tea halfway up the mountain, we ran into the carriage of the minister's estate. The minister was famous in the city for his devotion. He had been married to his wife for many years and never took any concubines. The inner manor only housed his wife and their legitimate son. Because of this, they utterly detested Qin Xiao. If you couldn't keep up your virtuous facade and your perfect image shattered, then so be it. Why blame Qin Xiao? The minister was the one who couldn't keep his pants on. Qin Xiao's mother was just a weak woman. Could she have forced him? The mountain breeze carried the scent of sandalwood. Pilgrims arrived in an endless stream. The minister's wife happened to be drinking tea and resting there too. Sitting beside her was a half-grown youth who must be the minister's legitimate son. Upon seeing me, she greeted me warmly and invited me to sit with them. But when she noticed Qin Xiao at the back, her expression instantly changed. Her son Qin Feng slammed his teacup down hard and spoke with an unfriendly tone.
Qin Xiao, you little bastard. How dare you show your face here to worship Guanyin? Aren't you afraid of defiling this sacred place?
Yunar said huffily.
Who are you? Why are you insulting Brother Qin Xiao?
The minister's wife had no intention of stopping Qin Feng. She smiled at Yunair, looking kind and gentle.
Little heir, your brother Qin Feng is only trying to help you. Qin Xiao was born in the pleasure quarters. Dirty blood runs deep in his veins. Our minister's manner does not recognize such a bastard. Do not let him deceive you.
My fists clenched tight with rage. Shut up. I stood up abruptly, hands on my hips pointing right at their noses as I scolded them. Qin Xiao is my adopted son. With every breath you call him a bastard and dirty. Whose face are you trying to slap? You call yourselves the family of an official, yet your mouths are full of filth. You have no decency, yet you have the nerve to speak of a sacred Buddhist sanctuary. You two are the filthiest ones here. If anyone is to be thrown out, it should be you two first. The minister's wife looked embarrassed and uneasy, suppressing her anger as she explained.
We did not mean to insult the Marquise's manner. It is just that this little beast, Qin Xiao.
You dare insult him again. My anger flared even hotter, almost shoving my face into hers. Who was it that signed the contract in black and white, agreeing to let our Marquise's manor raise their son? How do you still have the nerve to squawk, madam? Would you like me to explain the details to everyone passing by? Do you really think this is something to be proud of? My words instantly hit the minister's wife's weakest spot. She looked like a choked fowl, unable to squeeze out a single word, trading a hot spring estate for a concubine's son. If this were brought to light, it would indeed be far too humiliating. Seeing his mother defeated, Qin Feng stepped in front of her with righteous indignation.
He is nothing but an unlucky curse. If the Marchioness wants to raise him, then go ahead. No one is fighting you for him. The Taoist priest said he is destined to be alone and cursed, bringing death to his parents. I wish the Marquise's manor good luck.
Ha 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 ha. Then I'll take that as a blessing. Our Marquis mansion is deeply blessed, and our prosperity will surely endure. Blaming heaven and earth, yet never blaming your own meager blessings and cheap life.
I mean, why did you have to provoke her?
The madam of the Marquis mansion has no rival in scolding across the capital. Per Eva, the record is fully verifiable. Am I the only one who noticed the villain's eyes are sparkling? Isn't that exactly why he took her as his mother? Following the conversation, I looked toward Qin Xiao. As expected, he was staring at me blankly, his face filled with admiration and longing. Come, we're not drinking this tea anymore. Holding one child in each hand, I walked toward the carriage. When we get back, we'll burn a few more incense sticks at the temple to rid ourselves of this bad luck. The news of of my argument with the minister's wife spread throughout the city that very day. My husband massaged his temples in distress.
My wife, how did the minister's family offend you this time?
I recounted everything that had happened at the tea house from start to finish. My husband's face darkened as he said,
The minister usually appears to be a refined gentleman. Who would have thought his inner chambers would be in such a disgraceful state?
but then again, he looked serious.
Do you know what they are saying about our marquee mansion out there now?
What are they saying? Lately, I've been busy preparing the 2 children for school, so I really haven't paid attention.
They say our marquee mansion is using its power to bully others, having bought the minister's concubine, born son, just to bring him back as a servant.
I slammed my hand on the table. If not for my kindness in taking him in, who knows which street that child Qin Shao would be begging on right now.
That is indeed the truth, but gossip is a fearsome thing.
I waved my hand. What is there to fear? Time will prove everything. On the day they entered the clan school, I personally escorted them there. The other ladies sending their children to school saw me leading Qin Shao, covered their faces with their handkerchiefs, and whispered among themselves, muttering about who knows what, their eyes constantly darting over to my side. Yuner felt uncomfortable being stared at and shrank behind my back. I patted his head reassuringly and walked toward the group of women over there. What are you all discussing? Why don't you share it with me too? One lady smiled awkwardly and said,
It is nothing.
Then keep your eyes to yourself. I spoke coldly. Did your parents never teach you that staring at people constantly is very ill-mannered? What you discuss behind our backs is none of my business. But if you dare to affect my 2 children, I will certainly come to your door to demand justice. Another lady tried to smooth things over, saying,
The Marchioness must be joking.
Once we turned our backs on them, Qin Shao carefully tugged at my sleeve.
Madam, doing this will offend people and leave you vulnerable to criticism.
I looked completely indifferent. What is there to fear? Human interaction is just like this. If you are strong, they are weak. If you are weak, they are strong. Some people just love to subtly disgust you, betting that you care about saving face and won't dare to make a scene, deliberately making you suffer in silence. If you're unhappy, just speak up, scold them back. What is face worth? Whoever bottles up their frustration loses. Qin Shao nodded thoughtfully. At dusk, the 2 children returned in high spirits, the excitement and thrill in their eyes impossible to hide. Slow down. I caught Yuner as he rushed into my arms like a cannonball. What did you do to be this happy?
It was brother Qin Shao.
Yi Siyun said, gesticulating excitedly.
He taught Chun Feng a lesson this afternoon, and I helped a lot too.
Oh? I raised an eyebrow and looked at Qin Shao. He lowered his hands in embarrassment. Meanwhile, Yunar in my arms began to tell me about the strange incident that happened this afternoon. During the zither class, there was one zither short. Yuner and Qin Shao happened to be at the very end of the line.
You use it, brother. You learn first, and teach me when we return to the manor tonight.
No, you use it, Brother Yoon. I can memorize what the teacher says. Whether I have a zither doesn't matter.
Seeing the 2 of them yielding to each other, Qin Feng, who was sitting in the front row, turned around and sneered.
Yi Siyun, just practice by yourself. Qin Shao has other instruments he is good at.
Yuner knew he was up to no good, so he turned his head away and ignored him. Another student chimed in.
Then tell us, what is Qin Shao good at?
Qin Feng let out a malicious sneer.
Naturally, it is playing the jade flute. Do you know why he is named Qin Shao? It is because his courtesan mother was best at playing the flute. Back then, she charmed my father by playing a single tune. Even Qin Shao's name was given by his mother to remember him by. Don't you all find it hilarious?
The others instantly burst into whispers, pointing and staring at Qin Shao. Yuner's cheeks flushed red with anger.
Have you no shame? It was clearly your father who was faithless and ungrateful. Yet you have the nerve to broadcast it everywhere. It just shows how corrupt the Qin family's values are. It is a good thing you came to our house. The Qin family doesn't deserve you.
Hearing up to this point, I gave Yuner a big thumbs up. Having followed me all these years, you've at least learned the basics. And then what? I pressed further. He blinked.
Brother Qin Shao didn't say anything. He just pulled me down to sit.
Yuner thought that was the end of it, but he was still a bit angry in his heart. Clearly, just this morning, I had told them both
to fire back whenever they encountered something unpleasant. Why didn't Qin Shao do so?
As it turned out, when school was dismissed, Qin Shao quietly called Yuner to the side and whispered in his ear. Yuner's eyes went wide upon hearing it. The 2 brothers' eyes met, sharing a tacit understanding. Qin Feng was currently chatting and laughing with his classmates. He had enrolled earlier and was more familiar with the others, forming cliques as he did. It seemed as though he was ostracizing Yuner and Qin Shao.
Qin Feng, how come we never heard you had a brother before? We've never seen him at the clan school either.
Chin Feng sneered contemptuously.
He is not worthy. If he hadn't rushed to be a dog for the Yi family, he wouldn't even be able to attend this school.
The crowd burst into laughter.
Chin Feng!
Yunar suddenly spoke up from behind him. Chin Feng's brow furrowed deeply.
Yes, Siyun, what did you come over here for?
I heard you bad-mouthing Qin Xiao again. I'm going to tell my mother.
Hearing Yunar bring me up, everyone shuddered. Chin Feng recalled what happened on Guanyan's birthday and shivered. He grabbed Yunar.
Don't. Let's talk this out.
Yunar brushed his hand away in disgust and said solemnly,
Then do you dare to make a bet with me?
Bet on what?
If I win, from now on you must treat Qin Xiao with the utmost respect.
And if you lose?
Qin Xiao fished a heavy bag of gold nuggets out of his pocket.
This is the New Year's money I've saved for 8 years. If I lose, it is all yours.
The moment he saw the gold, Qin Feng's eyes practically reached out to grab it. He agreed immediately.
Deal.
Yunar puffed out his chest and said righteously,
You decide what we play. Don't say I'm bullying you.
A meaningful smile played on Qin Feng's lips.
You said it.
In that instant, he exuded an aura of absolute certainty. Qin Feng didn't call anyone else, making Yunar accompany him alone to the pavilion on the back hill. After sitting down, he actually pulled 6 dice from his waist.
High card wins. Got it.
Yunar nodded, forcing a brave face, and made a gesture inviting him to go first. Qin Feng's technique was highly practiced. With a swift movement of his hand, he lifted the dice cup, revealing 6 sixes. Yunar's heart sank. How was he supposed to play now? He swallowed hard, his eyes darting outward uncontrollably. Qin Feng was gloating.
Hurry up. It is your turn. You're not a sore loser, are you?
Yunar's small hand tightly gripped the dice cup, beads of sweat faintly forming on his forehead. Just as he was about to crack under the pressure and lift the cup, Qin Xiao's voice came like music to his ears.
Master, it is Qin Feng who is corrupting my younger brother. Look, caught red-handed.
Seeing this, Qin Feng's face changed drastically. He wanted to pack up the gear and run, but the dice and the cup were pinned firmly under Yunar's hands, making them impossible to take away. In his desperation, he threatened fiercely.
Let go.
Yunar's mouth puckered, and he instantly burst into loud wails. Turning his head, he immediately began to complain.
Master, Qin Feng is cheating me out of my money.
Qin Feng was scared out of his wits and argued.
I did not. He was the one who wanted to gamble.
But I didn't want to play dice with you. Gambling tools are strictly forbidden in the clan school. Did you not know that?
Yunar rubbed his eyes with a pitiful look. Qin Xiao had already stepped forward and grabbed one of Qin Feng's hands. At this moment, Qin Feng's expression was even more panicked than when the master arrived. He struggled frantically and cursed.
Qin Xiao, you little bastard. Do you really think you can rule the world just because you left the Qin manor? Let go of me right now.
Qin Xiao applied more strength in his grip, shaking several dice out of Qin Feng's sleeve. He weighed them in his palm a few times and looked at the master.
The weight of these dice is uneven. They must have been tampered with.
The master's stern gaze swept over everyone present. He asked Yunar.
What did he just roll?
6 sixes.
And these on the table are yours?
Yunar bit his lower lip and nodded. The master lifted the dice cup, revealing 4 threes and 22s inside. He felt the dice on the table again and murmured, "This set of dice is normal."
I am wrongly accused, master.
Qin Feng was so terrified he almost fell to his knees, cheating and deceiving classmates. If word of this got out, not only would he be expelled from the clan school, but his future and reputation would also be completely ruined.
The matter of setting up a gambling game needs further investigation, but bringing gambling tools and corrupting the clan school's atmosphere is a fact. Please invite the minister here.
Qin Xiao, however, bowed deeply to the master. His words were sincere.
Master, although today's bet was proposed by Yesiyun, he was only defending me. Furthermore, he never intended to decide the outcome by rolling dice. It was Qin Feng who coveted Yi Siyun's gold, attempting to cheat him out of it, and even egged him on into high-stakes gambling. His intentions were truly malicious.
With that, he looked at Qin Feng. His tone was filled with pure intimidation.
If Qin Feng is not severely punished, I will certainly report this matter to Madam.
Qin Feng's face turned ashen. They quickly sent a page to the residence to summon someone. The one who arrived was the minister's wife. She and the head of the clan school stayed in the study for a full hour. When she came out, she only silently took Qin Feng to pack his bags. His classmates were all talking at once.
I heard Qin Feng is being expelled. Do you know the reason? I only know he went to the back mountain with Yi Siyun this afternoon. and it turned out like this upon their return.
Before leaving, the minister's wife called Qin Shao out in private.
Finger has already been expelled.
Before leaving, the minister's wife called Qin Shao out in private.
Finger has already been expelled. You and the Ye family keep your mouths shut. If I hear even a whisper of this, I will make sure we all go down together.
Qin Shao replied with a calm and unyielding, "Fine." Having suffered a quiet defeat, the minister's wife trembled with rage.
I underestimated you, you little beast. Just you wait.
Qin Shao ignored her and turned straight back to class. After listening to Yunar's explanation, I remained silent for a long while. The bullet comments in midair were extremely lively. Your uncle Qin Shao was actually merciful this time. In the original novel, he used Qin Feng's gambling habit to directly break one of his arms. The minister had no choice, could only groom Qin Shao, but he ended up raising an ungrateful wolf who turned around and destroyed the whole family. Serves them right. Qin Shao may never forget a grudge, but he also never forgets a kindness. Look at how well he treats Ye Siyun. The Marquise's household really struck gold this time. I can't wait to see the minister's regret once Qin Shao makes it big. I withdrew my gaze and looked at Qin Shao. You knew all along that Qin Feng carried gambling tools on him? He lowered his eyes and said slowly,
Qin Feng's gambling habit was no secret in the Qin household. He frequented the gambling dens in secret, and the minister had to bail him out of his debts several times.
I sat up straight. So you had Yunar use gold as bait? Knowing that with his heavy gambling debts, he would absolutely take the bait. Knowing that with his heavy gambling debts, he would absolutely take the bait. Qin Shao was visibly taken aback. He spoke with some difficulty.
Madam, I did not intend to use Brother Yun. Though Qin Feng is foolish, he is no idiot. If I had gone, he would not have fallen for it.
Yunar also anxiously chimed in to defend him.
Mother, I wanted to do it myself. Besides, that bag of gold was fake. It was filled with stones inside, with only the top layer being real gold.
I sighed helplessly. Mother isn't blaming Qin Shao. On the contrary, you both did a wonderful job today. Mother is proud of you. Qin Shao and Yunar exchanged a glance. In the next instant, their lips curved up into wide grins. I recalled the very first time I met Qin Shao, when he had cornered Yunar against a wall, mocking him as a useless weakling who could only rely on his mother. In truth, I often worried too. I could protect Yunar for a time, but I cannot protect him for his entire life. When I grow old and pass away, if he is still an immature child who cannot grow up, what should be done then? But after Qin Shao arrived, he grew up incredibly fast. From a soft little ball who only knew how to hide behind me, he has turned into a clever little fox who knows how to act and stand up for others. All of this must be credited to the other, more cunning and calculating little fox. I gently patted Qin Shao on the shoulder. Thank you. He shuddered. Madam, still calling me madam. I don't know who it was before who wanted to take me as their mother, but now that you are actually with me, you call me madam every single day. Yunar also watched with a look of pure amusement. After a long time, Qin Shao's face turned so red, it looked ready to drip blood, and he almost choked on his breath. Finally, he squeezed a single word through his teeth. Mother. I answered warmly, ruffling his hair as I did so. Call me that from now on. No, changing back. The minister's wife had once threatened to make Qin Shao wait and see, but she would not have the chance anymore. The head of the clan school informed me that Qin Shao possessed extraordinary talent, and his learning and comprehension abilities far exceeded those of his peers. He had written a letter of recommendation for him to the White Deer Academy.
The White Deer Academy is a sacred place that scholars dream of. If your young master goes there for further studies, within 5 years, passing the imperial exam to become a Jinshi will be no problem.
I took the letter and thanked him repeatedly, thinking to myself that a Jinshi was an understatement. Qin Shao was destined to be the prime minister in the future. On the day Qin Shao left home, Yunar hid under his blanket and cried for the entire night. I pulled him up from the bed. His hair was a messy nest. His face was covered in tear stains, and he looked as disheveled as a little stray cat. I wiped the corners of his eyes with a handkerchief. What will it take to make you stop crying?
Mother, I don't want Brother Qin Shao to leave.
I sighed. Is his future more important, or is staying with you more important? Do you really want Qin Shao to be your study companion forever?
Of course not.
When Qin Shao first came to the Marquise's manor, there was constant gossip in the capital. Not only did it bother Qin Shao, but Yunar also felt aggrieved hearing it. Now that I mentioned it again, he grew anxious and said with red eyes,
Of course course, brother Qin Shao's future is more important.
After saying that, he looked down and fidgeted with his fingers in low spirits.
How can I see him again?
I had a sudden inspiration and encouraged Yunar. If you study hard and rank first in your school, you can get a recommendation to the White Deer Academy. Yunair stopped crying, as if a door to a whole new world had opened for him.
Indeed, why didn't I think of that?
From then on, he worked much harder, leaving early and returning late, burying himself in books every day, trying to catch up with Qin Shao's pace. Seeing Yunar working so hard, my husband was incredibly pleased.
My wife, giving away that villa was truly worth it.
Haha, the Marquis is so funny. In the future, you'll find it even more worth it. The Madam of the Marquis is simply a genius in investment. Although I really don't want to discourage Yi Si-yoon, what I want to say is, Qin Shao is going to win first place in the Imperial exam this year. Yi Si-yoon, I just got into the academy, and you tell me my brother is already a high-ranking official? Looking at the words floating in the air, my heart trembled slightly. Did that mean Qin Shao would be returning to the manor soon? On the day he was appointed to office, it was only on the day of his official appointment that Qin Shao returned to the Marquis's manor. My husband, Ye Guanfu, specially prepared a feast of food and wine. The Marquis's manor has been blessed with double happiness recently. Just as Yunar left for White Deer Academy, Qin Shao returned in glory to enter the imperial court. Not having seen Qin Shao for so long, I actually felt a bit of distance. He had grown much taller, with a straight and upright posture, looking every bit like a grown man now. It has been a full 8 years. You are finally willing to come home. I wrote to you repeatedly, urging you to come back and visit whenever you were free. Yi Si-yoon missed you terribly too, but every time you said you would, yet you never showed up. He bowed with hands clasped.
To build my career, I did not dare to see you.
My nose tingled with emotion, but I didn't pursue the topic, only pulling him to take a seat. Qin Shao was still the same Qin Shao, sharp and proud, always holding a breath of determination deep in his heart. He was not familiar with Yi Guanfu, but now that Qin Shao had entered the court as an official, the two of them would inevitably cross paths. They raised their cups and exchanged a few pleasantries. My husband was in high spirits.
To speak of Yunar getting into White Deer Academy, it is largely thanks to you.
I smiled and chimed in. After you left, he thought of you day and night, and made up his mind to get into the academy, to be your classmate. Who knew you would run so fast? Now, we can only wait for him to pass the examinations before the two of you can become colleagues. A touch of warmth appeared in Qin Shao's eyes.
All right, I will wait for him.
He had originally planned to find a small courtyard to move out, since he had established his career, and it was no longer fitting to stay at the Marquis's manor. I said with a stern face, how much is your monthly salary anyway? Just stay here at the Marquis's manor. I'll cover your food and clothing. Save your own money well. As for moving out, we'll talk about that when you're looking for a wife. My attitude was firm. So, Qin Shao had no choice but to agree. What I never expected was that the thick-skinned Minister Qin would actually dare to pay a visit. When the gatekeeper came to report, I waved my hand directly, telling him to get lost and that I wouldn't see him. Yay, Guanfu advised.
He and I see each other constantly at court. Please show him a little courtesy, madam.
After considering it over and over, I nodded reluctantly.
Mother, take me with you.
Qin Shao's voice sounded at the doorway. After staring at him for a moment, I nodded slightly. Perhaps he also needed to make a formal break with the past. The minister's hair had turned mostly white, and he looked much more haggard. Recently, he had become the laughingstock of everyone's idle gossip. The concubine-born son he had cast aside like trash back then had now passed the imperial examinations with flying colors and was appointed as a 6th-rank official. Meanwhile, his legitimate son, Qin Feng, ever since being expelled from the clan school, had been utterly demoralized and spent his time loitering in gambling dens. I heard that even the minister's wife's dowry had been completely squandered away. I had the servants pour tea and said, indifferently, I wonder what brings you here, minister. He spread out a land deed and smiled awkwardly.
Returning things to their rightful owner.
That old scoundrel. Seeing Qin Shao rise to success, he comes back to suck up to him. Be content, old scoundrel. Thanks to Qin Shao going to the Marquis's manor, he didn't suffer much abuse early on. They're letting you off easy out of the goodness of their hearts. If this followed the original novel, the grass on your grave would already be 2 meters high. I really want to learn from him and live a life completely free of shame. The bullet comments made me want to laugh. I forced down the corners of my mouth, pretending to be confused. Lord Minister, what is the meaning of this?
I was foolish back then. So I ask for Madam's forgiveness. Please take back the deed to the estate and allow me to take Shawar back to acknowledge his ancestors and return to the clan.
I am sorry, I said, pushing the deed back to him. I cannot give Xiaoer to you. His eyes turned cold, looking very much as if he wanted to take him by force. When I adopted Xiaoer back then, I only signed an adoption agreement with him. Now that he is an adult, whether he wishes to return to his clan is entirely up to him. Before the minister could respond, Qin Shao had already stepped out from behind the screen. The minister's face turned pale, and his lips trembled a few times.
Xiaoer, your father was also deceived by that Taoist priest back then.
Deceived.
The corners of Qin Shao's lips curled slightly, but his smile was as cold as a winter wind.
That Taoist priest was found by your wife from outside the city. Did you truly not know?
The minister was choked up and speechless. Qin Shao walked up to him, looking down from above.
Back then, you couldn't wait for me to get lost. Now that you see, there is profit to be made. You remember to have me return to the clan. Lord Minister, your skin is thicker than a city wall.
How can you be so disrespectful to your biological father?
Qin Shao sneered.
Biological father. When I was 6 years old, I was beaten by your wife until I had a persistent high fever. What were you doing? You were accompanying Qin Feng at the temple fair. When I was 8, I was falsely accused of stealing jewelry. I took 20 lashes. What were you doing? You were hosting a birthday banquet for Qin Feng. When I was 10, I was nearly kicked out of the manor to become a beggar. What were you doing then? You were calculating whether trading me for a hot spring villa was worth it.
He spoke each word deliberately, stabbing them like knives into the minister's heart.
You fathered me, but you never raised me and protected me.
I have only one mother. He turned his head to look at me, his eyes burning bright.
And that is Su Yunxian.
I've finally been waiting for these words. The minister's face turned pale with anger. Now I feel completely satisfied. The Marchioness definitely won big this time. I stood up, walked over to Qin Shao's side, and patted his shoulder. Then, I looked coldly at the minister. Take the land deed back. Since the villa was given to you, it is yours. Consider it Xiaoer buying out whatever pitiful bond of flesh and blood remains between you. That is all we have to say. Lord Minister, please leave. Someone show our guest out. The minister opened his mouth, wanting to say something more, but he was half invited and half shoved out by the gatekeepers. Behind us came the sound of his stumbling footsteps and a barely audible, long sigh. I turned to look at Qin Shao. His eyes were slightly red, yet his back was held straight. From then on, there would be nothing more to do with the minister's estate. There was only the Marquise's estate. I patted his head. Come, let's go back to the room. A letter has arrived from Yunair. Let's read it together.
All right, mother.
Days slipped away like flowing water. Qin Shao's official rank grew higher and higher. When I gathered with the noble ladies on regular days, they would always wave their fans, their eyes full of envy. Yunxian, you are truly blessed to get such a capable son out of nowhere. Even my husband, Yi Guanfu's status rose because of it. In the past, the Yi family held only a noble title, without any real power, being nothing more than wealthy, idle nobles. Now, Qin Shao was a high-ranking official in court, deeply valued by His Majesty, who would dare neglect the Yi family anymore. As for Qin Shao, he seemed quite different from what the bullet comments had described. He did not become a gloomy, ruthless, and treacherous minister. Instead, he was self-disciplined, devoted to his duties, upright, and unyielding. I heard the Grand Secretary highly appreciated him, and even intended to marry his daughter to him. As for that boy Yi Siyun, his mind was indeed not as sharp as Qin Shao's. He failed his first exam and came back to hold me, crying for a long time. I wiped his nose with a handkerchief while laughing. You're such a grown-up, yet you're still crying. If Qin Shao sees you, he will make fun of you. Just then, Qin Shao stepped through the door. He was busy with government affairs and rarely came home. He had probably heard about Yunar failing the exam and specially returned to the manor to comfort him.
He is fine.
He patted Yunar's shoulder.
Take the exam again in 3 years. I will work harder to rise a bit higher. When you enter officialdom, with my protection, you will surely thrive like a fish in water.
Yunar's eyes lit up and his sadness vanished. He began to look forward to a wonderful life of having connections. I smiled and shook my head. You must cherish your reputation. Yunar has his own path to walk. Do not make empty promises. Protecting yourself is what matters most. Yunar quickly chimed in.
Yes. I was just joking around. Brother, you mustn't let others gossip about you for my sake.
Qin Shao looked down with a faint smile.
I understand, brother Yun.
Yunar did not stay long after his return, before packing his bags again to head back to the academy. 3 years later, the imperial examinations arrived as scheduled. By then, Qin Shao had already risen to the position of Grand Tutor. On the day the results were posted, he made a special effort to wait with Yunar and me at the manor.
Madam, he passed. 13th place in the second class, a Jinchi scholar.
A massive smile broke across Qin Shao's usually solemn face. Yunair was still completely immersed in the joy of passing. Utterly dazed, Qin Shao stepped forward, slung an arm around his shoulder, and gave him a firm pat.
Rest easy, Brother Yun. From now on, I will surely protect you.
Congratulations to the Marchioness on achieving her wish. The Yi family has truly prospered this time. Yi Siyun is so blessed. His biological father is a marquis, and his elder brother is the grand tutor. Won't he be able to walk tall wherever he goes in the future? I turned my head away, taking advantage of Qin Shao's distraction to wipe the tears from the corners of my eyes. I suddenly recalled that night years ago, when the spring feast ended, when that little boy hesitantly asked me, "Could you be my mother too?" At that time, I only wanted to find a backer for Yunair, but later, he became my dearest kin, an inseparable part of my life. Yunair finally snapped out of his daze at this moment and hugged Qin Shao tightly.
Brother, I don't need you to protect me. I only wish for your safety and peace year after year.